What's going on, Dub Nation? You're watching Warriors Today by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Tyler Smith, and on today's show, figured we'd answer your guys' questions after the first couple of games in Jimmy Butler's Warriors tenure. With Golden State looking to pursue a championship at this point, I wanted to get the pulse of Dub Nation and see what questions you guys had for the last 27-game stretch of the NBA season. Before we get into your questions, though, trying to build a little bit more of a community over on Twitter. So if you guys want more Dubs content, I post some short form content over there. Try to engage with you guys, live tweeting games and whatnot. So give me a follow at Smitty@CS. You see the handle right there and right here below. I'll be following back the first 10 people that will follow me based off of this video. So the next 10 people that give me a follow on Twitter, you'll be getting a follow back, and you'll be getting some more Dubs content over on social media. All right, hopping into the first question from Miguel Guzman. Says, question: I've been hearing rumors that Curry is done playing and will retire soon. How confident are you that he and the rest of the team will get another ring before he retires? #Warriors. Shout out to you, Miguel. Well, I haven't been hearing a ton of Curry retirement rumors or anything like that as of late, or something that's going to be happening in the next 1 or even 2 seasons, as he does still have 2 more years left on his contract, and his lines up with the Jimmy Butler extension that was just signed through 2026, 2027. So yeah, Curry is probably going to be on the back burner of his career over the next couple of years and might retire after 2027, but they are going all in, and Steph is still playing at a super, super high level. Yeah, the total points per game numbers aren't there this year, but the addition of Butler has really alleviated a lot of pressure off of Steph. Still shooting at an awesome 39% from three-point range, and that's honestly one of the lowest marks of his career, which is just impressive. He continues to impress me year in and year out as the best shooter that's ever lived. But Steph's still playing at a super high level. I'm very confident that they are going to make a championship push. If I had to scale it for you guys, 1 to 10, how confident I am that they're going to win a championship, I have to put it at about a 6 or a 7 right now. I can't go anything higher than that with the current talent that they have. Obviously, they're aging superstars, and their games will only regress as these next couple of seasons go on. So right now is a good chance. You're going to need a guy like Jonathan Kuminga to really break out, and Podziemski to become closer and closer to the expectations that he had as a future all-star, according to Joe Lacob and Warriors front office and ownership. So if the young pieces come together and really develop, and you get high-level play out of your aging superstars and the guys who are making $50+ million on this team, then they are going to be in a great spot to go out there and win a championship. Next question coming up, though, from Harshawn K. He says, #Warriors. Do the Warriors have a real shot at the 6th seed and the title? So I put this question in here. Obviously, we just talked about Golden State winning the title this year, but what Steve Kerr has been preaching to Golden State fans is that the 6th seed is the goal. And as of right now, they're in a decent spot to go and get that done. You see Golden State there at the 10 seed currently, but they have the same record as the Kings. The Mavs are experiencing injury issues. Anthony Davis isn't playing there anytime soon, so it's going to be a Kyrie Irving carry job, a little bit of Klay Thompson as well. The Timberwolves, I'm not really scared of, specifically in a playoff series. We'll talk more about that later. The Clippers, I'm not scared of. The Lakers, I honestly was more scared of them when they had Anthony Davis, and you see that they're only 5 games ahead of Golden State right now with 27 remaining. As far as Golden State's relationship with the 6th seed goes, though, they are only 3.5 games out of that 6th spot over the Clippers. So Golden State's definitely in a decent position to go out there and get that, but a couple things have to go right to make that happen, right? Golden State has to stay healthy. They have to get probably a little bit more offensive production creation-wise out of Jimmy Butler. You got to get a healthy Jonathan Kuminga coming back and kind of taking this return in stride and coming back to that level of player that he was in the 10 games before he got injured. So he was playing the best basketball of his career. You're going to need a big last leg of the season and into the postseason from Jonathan Kuminga, who we haven't really seen play super high-level minutes in the postseason yet. Hopefully the IQ and the veteran experience of Jimmy Butler and the rest of the crew can kind of trickle down into the young players, including Kuminga, who they're going to need a big, big final stretch out of. The biggest worry about Jimmy Butler right now, this one's coming in from SP Railfan 4449. How we doing, my man? Good to see you. What's the biggest worry about Jimmy right now? I don't have a ton of worries all that much about Jimmy Butler at this moment. He has been a godsend for Golden State. He seems to be fitting in seamlessly and has a great relationship with both Steph and Draymond. He's loving his experience so far in Golden State, and the numbers reflect that. He's over 21 points a game. He's crashing the glass, specifically the offensive glass, too. And that's something that's really jumped out off the page to Golden State fans, that he's been making the effort plays, and he's been, doing the dirty work, like, intercepting passes, jumping passing lanes, having active hands, creating turnovers for Golden State, letting them go out and get it out on the break. Like, Butler has been awesome so far for Golden State, but the one thing that I would consider to be maybe a worry is when we get to postseason time and the defenses start, playing at a little bit more of a higher level and with less caution, I would say. Butler's outside shot in late game scenarios, we're going to need to see that ramp back up to the production that he's had in his postseason career over the past 5 or so years, right? Because Jimmy has been, awesome in so many different areas, but he's just never been known to be that outside shooter. Do I worry about the on-ball defense at all? Probably not, even though it hasn't maybe been as great as we anticipated, maybe to the level of Andrew Wiggins before Jimmy came to town. But I'm not too worried about that. He's going to get more and more acclimated and into basketball shape as this rest of the season goes on. The outside shot is probably the only thing that I'm really concerned about right now, but he's putting up enough numbers and affecting the game in so many different ways where it hasn't really become much of an issue. Like I mentioned before, though, with following me on Twitter, like the handle right there, Smitty@CS, I ain't BSing you guys. Here are my last 5 Twitter followers. Shout out to Theatig WP, Dre Area Sports, Jeff Carr, Butler Jen, and Warriors fans. Shout out to all you guys for giving me a follow over on Twitter. I ain't BSing. I'll put this same graphic up with 10 names for the next 10 people that give me a follow over there. And we'll answer more questions in just a moment for you guys that are subscribers. But first, I got to give a major shout out to today's sponsor, and that is Prize Picks. Prize Picks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports platform because it's daily fantasy made easy. All you guys got to do is pick a lineup of 2 to 6 player stat projections across like any sport. I'm talking basketball, baseball when it comes around, hockey's going on right now, esports, college sports, bowling, darts, does not matter. You can make it happen on Prize Picks, watching your favorite sports and winning real money in real time. I'm talking up to 1,000 times your money. And they're always trying to hook you up with incredible deals, like a free $50 in your account when you sign up and use our promo code CLNS and place your first $5 entry. Like I said, just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. Here's an example of what we had as I am filming this video on Thursday before the Four Nations final between USA and Canada. Let's go, USA. We got Connor McDavid, the GOAT Canadian as of right now, less than 2.5 shots on goal. Give me Hellebuck to have more than 27 goalie saves for USA. And then Matthew Tkachuk. Give me more than half a point because he was getting real down and dirty when they last played Canada. I expect him to be filling up the stat sheet as well in this one. You could tell my picks. You could fade my picks. Just make sure you go and do it at Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use our promo code CLNS for $50 instantly when you place your first $5 entry. You don't even need to win to receive the $50. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks. Run your game. All that information will be clickable down in the comment section and description of today's video. All right, this one next coming in from Jane. What up, Jane? #Warriors, should we trade away Draymond and Hield this offseason if we don't do well in the postseason to get Poole back? He is setting Wizards team history right now. Not a great team history, let's be quite honest with you. And Pods, Poole, Moody, Kuminga, and TJD/Quentin Post seem to be like a young, talented roster to rebuild off of. Keep keep Curry and Jimmy won last year to have a final run at it. Okay, so the beginning of the question, I'm kind of with you, right? Like, maybe if things don't work out this year and Draymond has some sort of value in the trade market over the offseason, then maybe you think about dealing him. But I really don't think that there's that big of a possibility to go out and get that done, and especially sending him to the Washington Wizards for Jordan Poole. I'm gonna call no-go on this one personally. Jordan Poole is a losing basketball player, and I think that, yes, when he played in Golden State, he won a championship and is a huge part of that 2022 finals run, but we've seen the real Jordan Poole reveal himself since playing in Washington. He takes bad shots, he's a bad teammate, and, he's a highlight guy. His highlights are great, but his lowlights are even worse and more frequent. I'm out on Jordan Poole reunion in Golden State. He can go with or away with the Washington Wizards. Next up, coming in from Austin Herzog. What up, AH? He says, who are the Warriors' best and worst playoff matchups potentially this season? Okay, so if we think about who Golden State can match up with, right? In the 7 to 10 in the play-in, the teams I don't want to play, I don't know. They just had trouble with the Mavs, but I think at full strength they would get that done in a one-game playoff scenario. Sacramento, really not all that worried about. I think you can defend those guys at a high enough level, and they don't play any defense over there in Sac-Town, where I'm okay playing those cats. Minnesota, maybe with their size, but Steph's always made Rudy Gobert his son, so I'm not really worried about that. You just get him out in the high pick and roll and go to work, Steph. Get chefing with it. So really, none of the teams in the play-in scare me at all personally. If I had to pick one of the teams that was racing for the play-in right now, I don't know if I want to play the Phoenix Suns. They got KD, they got Booker. Beal can still go off when he's having a good night, but I'm not necessarily scared of any teams in the play-in. As far as teams in the actual playoffs that Golden State could go out there and match up with, a best possible matchup, give me one of the young teams. Give me the Houston Rockets, who have no experience in the postseason just yet with this current core. That would be a matchup that I would be inclined to think that Golden State wins 4 out of 7 matchups with. Teams that I don't want to play in the Memphis too. Memphis is another one of those young teams that Golden State had their way with a couple of seasons ago, and I'm cool with matching up with them as well. They're very inexperienced, and they took a year off in the playoffs last year with all of Ja's antics. I'm cool with playing those guys. And then as far as teams I don't really want to play, the Lakers give Golden State issues. They got Luka and LeBron now. I know they don't have a ton of size, but neither does Golden State particularly, and maybe their top 2 guys are better than Golden State's if you really just put it on paper. I probably wouldn't want to play the Lakers. Don't really want to play the Thunder. Probably will have to play the Thunder if Golden State goes far enough in the postseason, but that's kind of my thoughts right now. What are your thoughts, though? Who do you want Golden State to face in round 1 if the Dubs make the playoffs? I'm probably cool with playing the Clippers if that's the case, but Golden State would probably have to hop the Clippers if that happened, and they're not seeing this. They're not seeing the 3 seed. So Memphis, Rockets, that's probably who I want to see in round 1. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments section. JP Dub, John Perry Warburton, how we doing, my man? He says, what should the Warriors starting lineup be with JK back? All right, so with how Steve Kerr has utilized Jonathan Kuminga over this big stretch, right? In the beginning of the season, he was starting, then he wasn't, then he was. And then Kerr finally came to the conclusion that Kuminga was best suited coming off of the bench, running the second unit, but playing starter level minutes, playing over 30 minutes a night. And I think that's probably the role that he should take on right now, because if you insert him into a lineup that includes Jimmy Butler, that includes Draymond Green, includes a guy maybe even at the 5 spot, there isn't a whole lot of spacing out there. And even if you play a small ball lineup with JK, Jimmy, and Draymond there at the 3, 4, 5, there isn't a ton of spacing out there on the floor. So a lineup that I've thought about and will go with is maybe a Curry, Pods, Jimmy, Draymond, and Quentin Post starting 5, and bring that Kuminga in as the super sub. Obviously, we know Post isn't going to play 30 minutes plus a game, so based on matchups, based on who's on the floor, Golden State can go to a small ball look and maybe have a Curry, Pods, Butler, Draymond, and Kuminga out there as their best 5 they can go out there and put on the floor. Next up, coming in from Entertaining Runner. I believe this is the last question we have on today's show, so shout out to everybody who has asked one so far. So with Jimmy's 2 years, will the organization be more willing to trade away young talent next year if they prove not to be enough this year? It's a great question, ER, because, man, if you re-sign Jonathan Kuminga to a big deal and he doesn't perform, think about that. Lacob has already said he wants to sign Kuminga to a long-term deal. He loves that guy. But if he doesn't perform in the postseason, what's his value going to be across the league? How many other teams are really going to be out there dying to go get Jonathan Kuminga on the squad if he didn't perform at the highest level? I know he would be only entering his age 23 season, and he still have a ton of untapped potential left, but his trade value would definitely go down if these young players don't perform. Think about how Pods was looked at as a potential piece in a Lauri Markkanen trade. Then the beginning of the season happened, and everybody thought he was a scrub. Good to see Pods playing better over this last stretch, but the trade value is going to go down, and you're probably not going to get equal value back, especially when Golden State wants to take those guys like Kuminga and Pods into the next era of Golden State basketball after Steph, Draymond, and Jimmy are up out of here. So I don't know if they'd be more willing to trade those young guys. I think that they want to push all their chips into the center of the table and go for this title with Steph and Jimmy and Draymond, but at the end of the day, they probably think that a guy like Kuminga could go help them right now more than whoever they could get back in a trade for just JK and maybe a couple other pieces to fit some salaries. That'll do it for today's show. But one more time, hit me up at Smitty at CS, trying to get you more engaged with you guys, the Warriors community, over on Twitter. So hit me up at that handle and make sure you are subscribed to the channel. If you're a diehard Warriors fan, you'll love what we got going on here at the channel. Daily news and rumors, live shows, and more. Hit that sub button. We'll see you in the next one. Let's go Dubs.